Check your email. All right, folks, we're waiting for everyone to get on board here on this call. Welcome. Going to give folks a couple more moments. Okay. All right, folks, I think we're just about ready to get started. Nice to see so much chat already in the chat box. Wow. Okay, let's see a show of hands if folks can hear me. Great, wonderful, wonderful. All right, we have a lot of people who have joined us. We are going to be broadcasting live on Facebook Live today, and forgive me, I'll be looking across two screens to try and get the best communication going here today. Welcome to our Long Beach Schools Community Forum this evening. We're gonna go probably till about 7:30. Not sure if we'll go all the way till 8. You never know, because this is a lively discussion, a lot to talk about today. I'm Melissa Morgan. Want to do some quick housekeeping for people before we get started. First of all, if folks need translation, there is an icon at the bottom of your screen that you can click. You'll need to mute your audio. I think we're all muted at this moment, but I want to invite Edna to give some instructions in Spanish, and then we also have Aratha, who's going to be providing translation into Khmer. So Edna, if you could share just a little message for folks to know how to access translation. Let's see if we can get her on here. Edna is on mute.
I'm coming.
Okay, great. Who knew we would be a Zoom nation here in July 2020? We should probably take some photos of this moment and these face expressions. So I want to thank everybody for patience. Is that you, Edna?
Yes,
there?
That's me.
All right. Edna, tell us about translation. What do we need to know?
Hola, buenas noches a todos. Bienvenidos al foro. Les queremos avisar que el foro se está transmitiendo en vivo vía Facebook y también vamos a tener interpretación simultánea disponible en español y Khmer. Para la interpretación necesitamos que se dirijan en un segundito cuando van a habilitar la interpretación. En la parte baja de su pantalla o si están en su dispositivo móvil, van a deslizar su dedo hacia la parte baja y ahí van a encontrar un icono de un mundo o va a decir interpretación. Para los que están en su teléfono celular van a ver 3 puntos suspensivos, presione ahí y ahí va a encontrar la opción para la interpretación. Tienen que seleccionar un idioma, todos deben de seleccionar un idioma. Si prefiere escuchar en español, va a seleccionar español. Y además va a poner mute original audio o silenciar el audio original. Voy a dar las instrucciones en inglés también, si me dan un momentito. Si tienen algún problema técnico, se pueden comunicar con James o Ravi o José Beltrán. Ellos van a estar disponibles en el chat para ayudarlos. Good evening, everyone. This forum will have simultaneous interpretation into Spanish and Khmer. So if you, in a moment when interpretation is enabled, you will see an icon appear on the bottom of your screen. And if you're on your mobile device, you just need to slide your finger to the bottom of your screen and you will see 3 dots there. That says more. You will click there and then you will find the interpretation function. Everyone needs to choose a language. So if you prefer to listen into English, please choose English and then mute original audio. And that will be all that you need to do to be able to listen to the entire presentation into the language of your preference. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. We're so happy to have that translation and do our best to be inclusive. Awesome. Okay, well, here we go. So folks, if you are interested in joining in on Facebook Live, we are being aired on Facebook Live, facebook.com/TALB Teachers. That's TALB Teachers. It's the TALB's Facebook page. So please check that out. I think we might be also sharing the link on twitter.com/MoveLB Forward. And we have a whole team of people here today who are working hard together to share a lot of great information with you in this chat. We will be recording this session, so we do invite you, if you don't want to be recorded, to join us on Facebook Live. We will be collecting stories, feedback, testimonials, data from Facebook Live as well. And let's see, we've got a couple folks who are trying to troubleshoot right now. One, we've got Udawak is trying to get through, so if you could check that out. There are a lot of messages going on in the group chat, so hope you all are going to have a lively discussion there, as well as for those of you who get to share today. Let's see here. We want to invite you to use this chat to troubleshoot, and again, check out the icon at the bottom. It's the globe icon if you need interpretation. All right, here we go. A lot of people to thank that have helped to pull together this event today. First, want to thank the Black Lives Long Beach chapter. We really wanted to spend some time focusing and centering a discussion around the Black community here. So we're being very intentional there and are going to do our best there. Then want to thank Long Beach Forward, the Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition, Californians for Justice, Khmer Girls in Action, Children's Defense Fund California, Public Advocates, Latinos in Action California, the Teachers Association of Long Beach, or TALB, the CSEA Local Chapter 2, which is the Classified School Employees Association, and then a couple of elected officials who've been collaborating to make this happen. Our Long Beach School Board Vice President, Dr. Juan Benitez, Long Beach City College Board of Trustees Vice President Udawak Joan Took, California State Senator Lena Gonzalez, Council Member Rex Richardson for the City of Long Beach, as well as Council Member Janine Pierce for the City of Long Beach. And thanks again to our interpreters who are providing interpretation through New Voice Interpreting. Also, would be remiss if we didn't say thank you for being here to all of the parents, guardians, mentors, community members, students. I think we're going to have some alumni here, mentors, maybe even some agitators. I heard we might even have some moles. So I don't know how you mole a listening session, but I hope you gain something from this tonight. This is really an opportunity for us all to really explore these two things, and for those of us who want to share our stories to do that tonight. So I want to thank you, and for any school board members who may actually be listening in, we did invite some. I did personally. We might even have our new superintendent, Dr. Jill Baker, listening in. So I hope she's here. Shout out to you, Dr. Baker, to see how we can move forward with making a more equitable school district for all of our youth. So why we're here, I'm going to do a little bit of quick laying the foundation, and we're going to jump right into people sharing their stories. So this is going to be the first of 3 proposed sessions. Collaborative community opportunities for folks to share and others to listen. We want to look at dismantling institutional racism and eliminating structural inequities. How do we do that? That's a big topic we can't conquer in 90 minutes. We're also going to be looking at district and school budget, and how and to reopen our schools in the coming academic year. What are your thoughts? What are your concerns about that? There's a lot. The next school district board meeting is actually not going to be until July 20th. And so this forum, as well as 2 others we're hoping to hold, are being created to be able to provide space for community voice so that we can be responsive to that, because you know we're not always invited to the table. Some folks may have seen today that the school board sent out a video with an update that people have gotten together and have talked about reopening. There was a committee that met. Don't know how many of you knew that, or if you were involved or invited. So we want to create that space here for you to share your story, your concerns, your interests, your ideas. All of our voices matter and are important. So again, we're centering around Black voices in our community as much as possible with this conversation. And then what we want to do here is to take the stories that are shared, create a report, because some of us like reports, collect those stories, collect the data. We're going to ask you some questions that you can answer on Facebook Live or here in the chat. We're going to pull it all together and share it and hope that decision makers will really take it into account once they make some decisions. And also we know this isn't all we can do, and that really the community, we have to work together to be able to push power forward, to have that power to activate it so that change can be made. So we know that this is just a part of the bigger picture. Again, we'll be listening to community, documenting, collecting, compiling data, and then using this data in a summarized report. We'll share more with you in a follow-up email after today's conversation. All right, so with that, I'd like to call in Dr. Eduardo Lara. He is a professor at Cal State Long Beach, and he's a Black Lives Matter Long Beach chapter ally. Dr. Lara. Someone will need to unmute Dr. Lara. Okay, Dr. Lara.
Okay, here we go. All right, thank you for unmuting me. That is a little technical issue there. Thank you, Melissa, for highlighting the importance of Black voices. I appreciate you and other facilitators who volunteered their time to make tonight's event happen. Perhaps this is a reminder for some and news to others. This forum was produced in the spirit of bringing community together. And it's beautiful to see so many stakeholders across the Long Beach community here tonight. We're going to take a deep dive into issues that Black Lives Matter has put front and center of public dialogue, but more importantly, action. To this date, the school board and district has yet to program an event similar to tonight's forum. Case in point, there's a district video released today highlighting a safety and equity lens approach towards opening schools for next school year. Many here left wondering what the details of the kind of equity lens used and which community members formed the advisory committees. To our surprise and everyone that helped organize this forum, none of us knew that these plans in the video would be rolled out today, right before the forum. This speaks to how important community-driven responses are in driving necessary conversation and action forward. As both a Latino ally and Cal State Long Beach professor of racial justice and social movement, I want to offer some perspectives on this political moment that we currently find ourselves in. It is clear since its founding in 2013 by 3 courageous Black women, Patrice Kahn Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi, Black Lives Matter has worked tirelessly to bring about necessary change to eradicate white supremacy and build power to intervene in violence inflicted on Black communities by the state and vigilantes. 7 years later, this movement's global reach has no doubt touched a chord in the broader struggle for social justice. That struggle, and consequently, the changes it's bringing in many facets of society, is palpable. This community forum is a pitch-perfect example of these changes. Black Lives Matter has allowed for an opportunity for the Long Beach community to come together to discuss and inform structural changes as it relates to racism in schools, budgets, and reopening of schools. And in that process, reaching out to diverse communities like you, and a range of opinions that is going to be very insightful. That said, the 7 years of formal work under the Black Lives Matter name, not to mention hundreds of years of Black organizing and liberation work, has to be centralized. Indeed, it's what brought us here today. In honoring that, I echo Melissa. The space tonight is meant to lift community voices, but with necessary attention to Black voices. History tells us that when Black voices bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice, all communities follow suit. Let's hold on to that historical lesson as we move forward in tonight's dialogue in the spirit of solidarity, so we can collectively continue to bend the moral arc of the universe towards justice. I'm going to hand this back off to Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lara. Appreciate it. You'll probably have to mute yourself. Okay, so here's our format for the session tonight. We're breaking it into 3 parts. First, we're going to frame the listening. We're going to have a couple organizations share their perspectives. They're going to have 1 to 2 minutes each. We're following that public comment format. Those of you who've participated in that with institutional structures know what that's like. I've got my handy dandy egg timer. We'll try to keep folks to their 2-minute format. And we're really going to ask you who are speaking to just model how to best maximize our time together so that we can get as much voice shared as possible. The second part, we're going to be uplifting community voices and perspectives and having a public comment for everyone to share. And then we're going to close with reflections and next steps. So here we go. We are going to begin by framing our conversation so that our decision makers can listen in and so that we can build some camaraderie with one another as well. Couple community guidelines I'd like to share to ask folks to consider as we talk today. Please show your video when you speak. We won't call on you unless we can see your video and see your face. So we want folks to be open and transparent with who they are and how they feel. Also, we're going to ask for mutual respect. You know, let's treat each other better here in this space than we do outside of this space. We're going to invite people to move forward or move back, step in or step out, really make space for folks, particularly our Black community, people of color, folks whose voices may not often be at the table. We are going to ask people to call people in instead of calling them out. So invite people in to discuss or to address your concerns instead of being nasty and calling them out. This is one I love from Black Lives Matter. We'd love you to throw some glitter and not throw shade. So here's our opportunity. We've got 1 mic. We're going to do our best to let 1 person share at a time. We ask you to come with an open heart and an open mind. We know these are very difficult issues. We've got a lot of opinions and perspectives. Have space, take space, and have some grace. Press your mute. Let's assume some good intentions. Do our best to respect confidentiality. 2 more. Please minimize repetition of what you're sharing if others have shared it. And I love this phrase, no haters here. So we're not allowing racist language. We do have the power of the mute and the block and the boot. So no haters here, please. All right, so let's do it. We've got a couple organizations who are going to share and help to set the foundation for us. Our first question, and we have a slide that we'll share. Folks can share their comments in Facebook and on the chat. What do you think are the top issues? What are you hearing from community members, students, parents, workers, and youth that your organization works with or who you know or who's in your family related to these 3 issues? And we have some hashtags you can use when responding. Racism in schools, hashtag school budgets, and hashtag reopening schools. So we do have a slide. Hopefully we can show that slide. I hope I spelled everything correctly with these hashtags. But we are going to invite in some folks to share their perspectives, and we'd like for you to share in the chat. Again, hashtag racism in schools, hashtag school budgets, and hashtag reopening schools. So here we go. First, we're going to bring in from Black Lives Matter Long Beach, we have Sheila. And give us a moment to get her on deck here. After Sheila, we'll have Megan Lane, a youth leader from Californians for Justice. Then Chris Kelly, the president of the Teachers Association of Long Beach. So do we have Sheila ready? Those are our first speakers. All right, Sheila.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Lay it on us.
Hi, my name is Sheila. I am an organizer with Black Lives Matter. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And to get us started, I want to remind us that we know our society is inundated with racism in every facet of life. It is embedded in the institutions we deal with every day. There is an interaction of these systems that layer the impact on people of color. We must put a finer point on that, though. It is racism, and a particular type of racism, anti-Blackness. Black people are at the bottom of nearly every health, education, and income indicator, and it is by design. Our system is not broken. It is working as it was intended. It just wasn't intended for all of us. Black people are not failing. The systems and representatives and electeds are failing. The systems, representatives, and electeds have failed us with their inactions and their action. Our community gathered and came up with several demands. I will touch on some of them, and my fabulous sister in struggle, Kim, will cover some others later. First and foremost, in terms of our demands, we need to acknowledge the existence and impacts of systemic racism within the Long Beach Unified School District. We must start with that, and from there, move into meaningful action. I will briefly go over some of these demands, but in respect for time, I will add additional context later. Our second demand is end Long Beach Police Department contracts with LBUSD and get school resource officers out of schools. We need to end the school to prison pipeline that ushers Black youth into the prison industrial complex, where they are more likely to be charged as adults, found guilty, and get harsher sentences, furthering mass incarceration. We have the largest prison population in the world, and LA County contributes to much of that. Getting officers of any variety out of schools helps to end this. We also need to fund art, music, science, technology, physical education, and after-school programs. Next, mandate Black and ethnic studies and incorporate Making Black Lives Matter in schools curriculum into all schools. We also need to make space for student-led bodies to provide input on social district decisions and provide the full range of services to special education and academically disadvantaged students. I hope that we keep these particular issues in mind through this process and moving forward. I hope that we radically center our most impacted Black students by meeting their needs. To be clear, we want to see quick, meaningful action on these demands from the board. It has always been imperative and necessary, although ignored and put on the back burner. But at this moment that we were dragged into with the murder of George Floyd, the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back after hundreds of years of similar issues, the public called out saying enough is enough, taking it to the streets once again. The organizing and building work has been constantly in the background, and we are ready. The community is with us, and it is past time that all levels of government and all institutions show us that Black Lives Matter with meaningful action. We are watching. The city of Long Beach is watching. Los Angeles County is watching. The whole country is watching. Heck, the world is watching. Make no mistake. We will continue to be in the streets as necessary, and we will not give up.
Thank you, Sheila. I'd like to call in Megan Lane, who's a youth leader with Californians for Justice. You there, Megan?
Yes, hello.
All right, welcome. Hey, talk to us, Megan.
Hello, my name is Megan Lane, and I've been involved in Californians for Justice for almost 2 years now as a youth leader. I go to Long Beach Poly High School, and I am in 11th grade. I am here today to express why students aren't putting up with any more pushed under the rug racism. We are not taking the disrespect from the school system anymore, and we are starting to speak up since no one has done it for us. There's a lot of systemic racism in schools, and we are seeing it now more than ever. Students of color, and especially Black students, are tired of being criminalized and second-looked. One immediate thing we can do to change is to have police-free schools and ending the LBPD contracts with LBUSD, getting rid of school resource officers, and getting rid of school resource officers. I know for a fact that having police on campus is not a sense of relief for students. At my school, it is very separated by race, unfortunately. And I noticed that the police only hang out around areas with mostly Black students. Due to the active movement against police brutality, police bring fear to Black students. When you have police walking around where you eat at lunch, it does nothing but give you a sense of nervousness. Getting rid of policing behaviors goes beyond police. It includes teachers and administrators criminalizing Black students. Ending racism on campus is a symbolic step towards ending systemic racism. We could start by prioritizing more places for students that center mental health on campus, including more nurses and counselors, and more access to them, especially for students of color who may not have resources otherwise. Also, by decreasing the number of students in classrooms or making more classrooms. By doing this, I strongly believe that it will bring a happier, healthier school environment. Bottom line, if you are going to make decisions that affect students of color, please make sure that you include students in the decision-making process. Ultimately, this affects us because we are living it. Therefore, experts in what we need. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for sharing your voice and the reality of what you see on school campuses. Our students know they know so clearly what really goes on campuses. I'm seeing a message from Dr. Felton Williams. He said the conversation did not start off well. To state that no progress has been made in the district is a total disrespect to the work he's done for 15 years, to include graduation rates, college attendance, A through G completion rates, SAT prep, and ethnic studies. I will tell you that I've known Dr. Williams over the years, and he has shared with me personally one-on-one the things that he's done slowly to make change within the school district that not everybody knows about. But I know that also there are folks in the community who feel like more can be done. And they may not have always heard those stories or had those relationships with him. So I see you, Dr. Williams. I see what you've shared. I know you have made accomplishments that have been meaningful to you. And I would invite the community to ask some questions about that to Dr. Williams, have a conversation here about that. Let's learn some more. Let's find out what's happened and how do we support our school board members to be bold and brave. That's another thing that we can do here. All right, next we've got from the Teachers Association of Long Beach, Chris Kelly, the president. Chris.
Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Kelly. I'm the president of the Teachers Association of Long Beach. And I hope this forum will create a space where teachers, staff, families, and the community can express themselves and feel heard. What TALB is asked about most often is the reopening of schools. What we are internally examining is institutional racism within TALB and Long Beach Unified, and how we can do a better job of supporting our students and teachers of color. The Teachers Association receives dozens of phone calls daily wanting to know when and how schools will start. There's concern about students and teachers who have health issues or have someone in their households who would be put at risk if they return to physical classrooms. And we have parents who need their children in school so they can go back to work. The questions are always when and how. The answer is always, we don't know. No one does. We're dealing with an invisible enemy that has a longer attention span than we do. So just when things were looking a bit better, we seem to be back where we started, except financially, of course, we're worse off. I do know the district has been working feverishly, trying to locate our students, many of whom have scattered to the wind. They need to know how many students we have, whether they want an online program to be physically present or some type of hybrid program. Then they need to work on teacher assignments. We expect they will consider medical needs of students and teachers. I know they're looking at programs and meeting with stakeholders to help make some recommendations. But these groups are limited in size and the issues they're addressing. We all have questions and concerns that need to be heard. People want to know what is happening and what is being considered. It will help our community cope to get regular progress updates. One did come out today. Thank you, Dr. Baker. But we need to be able to express concerns, make suggestions, and feel heard. This is a huge challenge for everyone. It's never been done before. But in the end, the most important thing to remember is that the city, county, and state health departments make the recommendations, the decisions about how and when we go back to school safely. Thank you.
So now we've got Gabby Hernandez is up next on deck with the Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition. Then we'll have Leanne with Kamai Girls in Action. And then from CSEA, Gilbert Bonilla. So is Leanne available?
Hi folks, this is Gabby Hernandez. I'm the Associate Director with the Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition. Hola a todos, gracias por estar aquí. Mi nombre es Gabby Hernandez y soy la directora de la Coalición de Derechos. Now more than ever, sorry, I will be giving the statement in English. Now more than ever, the non-English speaking community members need to have vital information given to them in the proper language. And non-English speakers are having a hard time communicating with staff, with the school board in the language that they desire. They're not able to express their concerns and what's bothering them at this time. Now the district released a video just a few hours ago that doesn't provide any information in any other language than English. How are parents supposed to have this information, this very vital information, if they're not given priority and they're not provided with this information in the language that they desire? Second, parents are worried about their kids falling behind, especially if they don't have the ability to help them in their homework because they don't speak the language. There are concerns that their kids are not going to be at the level that they need to be once they come back, to school. What is the district going to do, and how do they plan to support the students that are going to need extra support? There's some parents till to this day that don't have access to internet. So we really need to think about, when we think about a hybrid program, what does this mean to students that don't have access to internet and that they don't have the support that they need at home because their parents don't have the ability to speak the language? How is the district going to support that? There are parents who are worried about their immune compromised children and also themselves, since they don't have, if they're undocumented, access to proper health coverage. How is this district going to address this issue? Working parents, how are working parents going to be able to pick up their children if it's a hybrid program and they have to pick up their children? If they're working, who's going to pick up the kids? How they're going to take care of them? Also, we need to be sensitive when we're working with undocumented students. I know firsthand, and I've heard staff from different schools name people illegal and use that term. How are we going to allow that to happen in a setting where kids are supposed to feel protected and respected? How can we make sure that staff and faculty is trained on how to better support undocumented students? It is not that the parents don't know how to support their kids, it's that the district has failed to recognize that the different struggles of students that are undocumented. There needs to be a transitional program for students that don't have that support. Additionally, we need to remove resource officers from all LBUSD campuses and instead fund counselors, psychologists, and even possibly social workers. There can be so much more that can be done, and remove these officers that continue to criminalize Black and Brown students specifically. LBUSD needs to center Black, Brown students and their needs. We need to stop criminalizing our kids and stop aiding the deportation pipeline and the prison to school pipeline, the school to prison pipeline. I ask that these demands and these questions are taken seriously, and that we think about how we can better support parents that don't speak the language, that need to be heard and supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Gabby, right? Thank you so much. Forgive me for not introducing you properly. So Gabby with Long Beach Immigrant Rights Coalition. I'd like to invite all of our speakers too to please share any of these demands you have or feedback on our Facebook Live if you can. And we'll be sure to continue to try to distribute this information for people. Okay, so I believe Leanne is next with Kamai Girls in Action. Are you there, Leanne?
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm Leanne Chen with My Girls in Action, and we are a part of a multiracial Invest in Youth Coalition here in Long Beach, and we have been developing young leaders here in Long Beach since 1997. Our young people, along with our families, are feeling pretty frustrated actually because of the lack of process and transparency, particularly given the current political climate. There's this very deep feeling that we don't value our children and working families. Recently, the feeling of that there's been a lot of dismissal around the emails and public comments that have been sent into a school board meeting made a lot of family members and students feel disrespected. And part of the reason why I wanted to raise that is because we don't want to engage when decisions are already made. We want to engage genuinely so that we can help shape the reopening of school and what that could look like. On top of a lot of the real emotional challenges of working during a pandemic, working family, low-income families, families of color are shouldering a lot of the burden, struggling to take care of young ones and homeschool our children, and things are becoming increasingly desperate. I, for one, am a working mom with a young child that I'm struggling to homeschool, and on most days, I'm feeling all kinds of emotions. I feel guilty, I feel desperate, I feel sad, I feel fearful, I feel angry. And in a lot of my conversations with other parents, we're all really going through it. Our organization have actually a pretty long list of recommendations, but I'm gonna pull up a few today. One is around equity and racial gaps in the academic performance, particularly for Black students in Long Beach Unified School District. So this is a well-known issue, and we want the district to center that issue, particularly given the current political context, and in reopening our school, and really see reopening our schools as a racial justice issue. Secondly, we want and need immediate increase in access to school counselors and mental health services to support our students who are working through their trauma, anxiety, and depression. Third, we want the district to end all practices of disciplinary measure that are punishment-based. So I want to affirm what our young students have been talking about in terms of calling for police-free schools, and rather reinvest those dollars and efforts towards social-emotional needs of our students. Fourth, decision around school reopening need to be made with community input and needs to center the needs of the most impacted students and family, especially Black youth, students with learning disabilities, foster care youth, and immigrant students who are disproportionately impacted by school closure. And finally, I want to add that timely and translated communication to families who speak a second language is really important, and we would like to see the district commit to that as well. A safe and just reopening our school must be a top policy priority right now, and I think many of us have felt like it hasn't been. Due to the disproportionate impact so far around COVID-19, the risks are higher for Black, Latinx, and Pacific Islander families. I sit on the Committee for Greater LA, which is the LA County COVID Recovery Task Force, and let me tell you, as a region, with all the presentations that we've been getting from that committee, we are nowhere close to having this pandemic under control. So I am absolutely super worried about school reopening, and I want to encourage us to all have ongoing, robust discussion. And I do look forward to our collective engagement this evening. So thank you.
Wow, thank you, Leanne. Really appreciate it. You packed a lot into what you just shared. And I heard you say that the reopening of schools is a racial justice issue. Our youth have been dealing with trauma, depression. They're processing a lot. We parents are processing a lot. This is a picture of two of my kids. I'm a parent of a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old, two Black girls who go to school here in gifted programs, who even in those programs are having real challenges around being Black in our schools and not feeling included, and the implicit bias issues that they encounter with the teachers ever since they started school here in elementary school. My background, by the way, folks, is I'm an anti-bias educator, a human relations educator, and I've been working with schools from preschool all the way to college age, parents and educators, to really address implicit bias, how to build inclusive, safe schools. So all of this conversation is really relevant to the success of our children's future. So thanks so much, Leanne, for that. Next, we have up Gilbert Bonilla. He's the CSEA Local Chapter 2 President. Gilbert, you there?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Gilbert Bonilla Jr., as said, and I am the CSEA President for Long Beach Chapter 2. I represent the 2,100 workers supporting your children's world-class education. We are the first the students see in the morning and the last at the end of the day. We are the ones who take care of your children. We feed them. We keep them safe. I am here today because we will not be silent on what matters. I am here to speak for those that don't have a voice. We as an organizational representatives are all here to support each other and unite as a bigger voice. We are going to make a noise so loud that the district will not only hear us, they will finally have to listen to what we are saying. With the hundreds of people watching and listening right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they could hear us here tonight. We are brothers and sisters. Together, everyone achieves more. We here as organizational representatives are links in a big chain. We are only as strong as our weakest link, so we must support each other. Many of our workers are low paid, work as little as 3.8 hours, don't always have money for food and rent. Some are even homeless. What little they have is being ripped away from them in health benefits. Regarding regarding the recent LBSD administrative raises that I spoke about in the last Board of Ed meeting, I'm not arguing that people aren't qualified. I'm stating that with this great recession, civil unrest, and the pandemic, which in itself is affecting people financially in a negative way, this is not the time for raises. What is right is right. Decisions will be made next year that will affect all of us in the future, reduced hours, furloughs, and layoffs. When this happens, who will take care of your children now? We are the foundation. Make no mistake, the classified workers of LBSD are on the bottom of the totem pole and first on the chopping block. If any link in that chain goes, it will surely have a domino effect on all the other links. It will break the system, so we must remain united. I will end with a quote from Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. I am going to see if I can share my screen with you all. This is the poll question that we have here. Can folks see it? Let's see a shake of heads. Can you see the poll question? Yeah, great. So again, what do you think are the top issues, folks? And what are you hearing from other people? Hashtag it, hashtag racism in schools, hashtag school budgets, hashtag reopening schools. Okay, I see you, Kimmy Maniquist. Kimmy used to lead the CCEJ, and some of her recommendations she hashtagged around racism in schools. She's an expert in this area. Is a couple things: eliminating Long Beach Police Department and school discipline issues. My 14-year-old daughter was just telling me last night about a kid when she was in middle school. Black kid got in trouble for throwing paper across the classroom. White kid did it as well. Black kid got in trouble. Police called in, disciplined, embarrassed, humiliated publicly by the police. He was kicked out of school for a week. White kid was threatened for the parents to be called. This happens in our school system every day. It's not just a Long Beach issue, it's across our country. Kimmy says, invest in trauma-informed practices and policies, including restorative justice work, social emotional learning, etc. Social justice training and a learning community for all educators. We're not saying that any one teacher is racist, we're saying that we all have implicit bias. I'm an anti-bias educator, and right now I am having to peel apart the anti-Blackness that I have grown up around and that has really formed the way that I see the world. And I would challenge all of our Black leaders to do the same. Take a moment and really look at your own personal anti-Blackness and how we've been raised. Not just Black folks, all of us in this United States of America. Kimmy says ethnic studies classes, a graduation requirement for all students. Dr. Williams, I know that you've worked on that issue here in the school district. Clearly communicated, accessible process for students to address issues of racial discrimination and potential abuse. And then consistent opportunities for collective dialogue to address racial disparities. Folks used to think that talking about race it's taboo. Why do we do it? We were in a post-Obama era. This takes constant, consistent work. We have to keep at it to be the best that we can be in the school district. So at some point I'll figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Maybe someone can help me with that. So folks, hopefully you've been sharing your responses to this first poll. I'm gonna see what else comes up here. I'm seeing people are hashtagging. Make sure you put a comment with your hashtag. I see an educator who's asking, Melissa DeMaio, how do I implement and teach anti-Blackness and anti-racism? Ethnic studies must be pertinent starting in elementary school. There are great resources in our community, the Anti-Defamation League, tolerance.org, several organizations that have great curriculum. Black Lives Matter now has curriculum around Black Lives Matter in schools. I will share that I have a website. It's allthingsblack.us. That's allthingsblack.us. And I've posted some resources there for educators, for parents. How do we talk about race? Because we need to talk about it. Okay, I don't know if my screen is still sharing, but we're gonna move on to listening to the community. Let's hear some more from the community. We've heard from some figureheads. We've heard from Black Lives Matter. Now we want to hear from the community. We're going to have 3 rounds of public comment or testimonials. We're going to give folks about 2 minutes to share. And again, if you're giving feedback on the chat, hashtag it up so we can search this data later on. This first round, we're going to have about 25 minutes or so to talk about dismantling institutional racism and structural inequities. So I first would like to ask if we have any youth voices. If there are any youth here, I'd like to call them in and invite them to talk to us a little bit about what are your experiences around institutional racism and structural inequities. And I'm going to ask and rely on our team here to help bring in some voices. So we want to hear from some youth. I think you can raise your hand. You can indicate if you're interested in sharing. And again, we'll call on you if we can see your video. Give us a minute while we find out who's on deck next. I do see some questions about resources. We'll be sure to share some links in this chat. All right, team, who can we get? Do we have some youth or some parents? Let's listen to
Christopher Covington, Melissa, has a
Oh, Christopher,
comment.
Okay. All right, Christopher, you've got the stage. Are you unmuted? I think I found you. I'm going to try to unmute you. Christopher, are you there?
All right, can folks hear me?
Yes, Christopher, I knew you
All
when
right.
you were a student learning,
Yes.
dealing with issues around discrimination and prejudice back in the days, and now you're an adult working with other young people and advocating. What are you seeing and hearing?
Absolutely. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Covington. My pronouns are they and he. I'm an employee with the Genders and Sexualities Alliance Network, GSA Network for short. As an organization, we service and support and unite trans and queer students with the emphasis of racial and gender justice. In the city of Long Beach, we are currently in all of the 11 high schools and 4 of the middle schools, providing them with support and a structure to talk about racial justice and gender justice in schools and what does that look like. For the past 3 years, one of the campaigns that they've been working on is making sure that the school sites are inclusive and supportive to trans and gender diverse students, working on the Gender Neutral Restroom campaign. We've been working with Tiffany Brown to implement that. Out of all of the high schools, one high school is going to 2 high schools have 1 high school already implemented it at Lakewood, and many other schools are working on it in this new school year. Specifically for trans and gender non-conforming students, they are asking specifically for dedicated funding for teacher training. Oftentimes, the Center of Long Beach has to provide the training free of cost to the district, and many teachers still don't understand that gender and sexuality are completely two different things. And so what happens is students have shared in their GSA clubs that they're being misgendered, they're being discriminated against by other students, as well as teachers and administrators, just for them living their authentic life on campus, which is supposed to be safe. And so for today, some of the students are here today. They may be a little bit shy to speak in this large forum because so many people are here. However, what they're looking for is a sustainable teacher training that the district is paying for, inclusive school environments that include gender neutral, multi-style gender neutral restrooms, and as well as spaces to convene and share their stories and make sure that transgender gender nonconforming students are uplifted in the district. So I thank you. The other components that they're asking for is police-free schools. They want to see more health professionals on campuses. They want to see expansions of wellness centers throughout all high schools, as well as making sure that ethnic studies and the Black Lives Matter school curriculum is implemented in our community. Thank you. I think I reached my time.
Yeah, thanks, Christopher. You know, what is the name of that program where I remember back in the day, schools would have a poster on their door if it was a safe classroom for LGBTQ students to go to? Do you remember that? It was like a safe program.
Yes, so
Remember
that is through Glisten. They offer safe they offer safe, how do you say?
Safe space, I think.
Safe
Yeah.
training for teachers as well through their administrative curriculum that they offer. And specifically, like I spoke on their stories and what they've been sharing, but this has also impacted me. I'm a product of the district, all the way from elementary school until I was pushed out of school. I had teachers write up referrals to me. I've had police officers escort me off campus. I've been targeted not only because of my identity, but also because I didn't have the necessary support systems in order to make sure that I was meeting my educational goals while on campus. And so instead of saying, what can we do to support you? What they did is said, we can no longer support you on this campus. Here's an alternative, but we don't think you're going to succeed there. So here are some other alternatives. And I ended up getting pushed out. If it wasn't for my own advocacy and actually getting into Reed High School, I wouldn't be where I am today. And a lot of the character development that I received was through nonprofit organizations such as CCAJ, California Council for Quality and Justice, and other organizations who I'm currently affiliated with today. And nonprofits and community-based organizations should not be doing the work of the district. Those organizations should be amplifying that work, and it's a disservice that we're here having this conversation to uplift all the skeletons in the district's closet and making sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. And so thank you so much,
Chris. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Share how we can contact you, how people can get in touch with what you're doing in the chat. Let folks know. I was
Melissa,
thinking, yeah.
We have Renee Brown, Norma
Great.
Rodriguez, and Jonathan Burton that want to make comment.
Okay, so just the transition I wanted to make was my daughter was saying we need safe spaces in schools for Black kids, not just gay kids. Imagine a sign, you're safe in this classroom. Something to think about. Renee, hello Renee, are you there?
I'm here.
Or Norma, great.
I don't need to speak, I just made the comment if you guys want to speak on that.
Didn't catch that.
Norma Rodriguez.
Okay. Norma, are you there, Norma? And Juan, feel free to text me the names here in the chat and I can call on them if I don't see them.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, please.
I was just commenting in the box. I don't have much to say. I wanted our student Megan Lane to speak for Californians for Justice. We're a Black and Brown youth-led organization here in Long Beach. And I just want to echo what she said, right? That I think one of the most important things we can do is to center Black and Brown voices in the decisions that are happening in the schools and the district. We have some examples of that at Lakewood and within the district that are really powerful. Students are co-designing and co-creating ways to create relationship-centered schools together. So it's just, that's the key, right? We need to be able to center our young people and give them the tools for them to have leadership. And it's working. We need to see more of it, right? We're piloting that right now, but you heard Megan, right? We need to hear them. We need to hear parents. For us, we work with our young people. We let them take the work on, you know, really lead our campaigns. Everything we do is centered in their input. And that's what we need to follow and echo within the district and in our schools.
Thank you. Who else do we have? Do we have some other Black voices that we could center, or some other students? We're hearing from a lot of adults. Do we have any other students available to share, interested in sharing? And from there, we can also go to parents. We're talking about dismantling institutional racism, structural inequities. Who has some experience they can share?
Hey, Melissa, there's Astrid. Thank you.
Okay, Astrid. Are you there, Astrid?
Hello, my name is Astrid Quirarte, or Astrid, and I'm a former graduate from Millikan High School. I graduated in 2018 from Quest program. I currently attend UC Berkeley on a full tuition scholarship, and I'm proud to say that I'm a first-generation student and a daughter of immigrants. Unfortunately, Millikan was a very, I feel, especially Millikan Quest, which is supposedly known as the GATE, identified students, was pretty much a hostile environment for a person of color. I tended to face a lot of microaggressions that I would speak to both my brown folks and also my Black peers, one of whom is one of my best friends. We both ended up going to Berkeley together. And then one of the events that happened around our senior year that was very troublesome was the fact that the art department had a play and they actually did a lot of blackface, which supposedly what they said was that they didn't have enough actors who were Black to play a lot of the characters who are Black in the play. And we had no mention at all. We didn't even have any like safe spaces in the classroom to openly talk about this. And from my experience back at Millikan, I remember there were very few spaces. One of them, Ms. Diaz, she's actually in this video chat, and she always opened her door to a lot of the students, especially from the Spanish-speaking community. And my friend, who is Black, we really talked about this our senior year, but we felt like the administration didn't have anything. And also being young, we felt like we didn't have the tools to really understand like what we could do in that situation. And especially going to Berkeley, we started seeing a lot of the effects, especially regarding racism in education. Another thing that I wanted to make people aware of was that the fact that we're segregating students based on classes' standardized tests is also very troublesome, especially when Quest could have been a very elitist academy in itself. I also want to call to the microphone my friend Melissa. She is also an LBUSD alum. She goes to Berkeley with me. And if it's possible, if you can unmute her as well. Melissa Oviedo.
All right, Melissa, if you're there, you've just reached your 2 minutes. Astrid, thank you for sharing that blackface story. Incredible. Are you there, Melissa, friend of Astrid?
Yes, hi, thank you. So my name is Melissa Oviedo. Similar to Astrid, I am a graduate from the class of 2018. I went to Poly, and I was a part of the Poly PACE program. And similar to what Astrid expressed, it was just a very hostile environment for students of color. We faced many microaggressions like on a daily basis. We had very little Black and brown representation within our classes, which was incredibly harmful because we had to go to our classes every single day. We didn't see very many people that looked like us, but then somehow when we went into our passing periods, that was when we saw people that looked like us. And it was really difficult to understand like why they weren't actually in our classes. And similarly, I just feel like these gifted pathways often create institutional like barriers to Black and brown students that just contribute to not only like the oppression of Black and brown students, but also just the fact that we're keeping them from success. Because similar to how Astrid said, I go to UC Berkeley. I'm also there on a full ride scholarship, which I'm very thankful for. And I do think the PACE program did a lot for me. I honestly feel like I grew a lot as a student. I learned so much from that program academically. And I think that was the thing that hurt me the most. It was that I knew that it was possible for Black and brown students to get the help and that they need that would contribute to their retention as we continued into college. And it was so harmful now when I think about and reflect on like my peers that weren't part of the PACE program. They did not get those resources that I got. They did not get anything that I got. And they were the ones that unfortunately have to struggle. And they're the ones that are less likely to be retained within their college programs or their colleges, universities. And it's kind of like, these are the effects that come from refusing the proper resources to students as a result of these like institutional hierarchies that we're creating with these like gifted pathways and programs. And then I also don't know how I'm doing for time, but I did want to bring up that something that happened recently in regards to like institutional racism at Poly was that earlier this year, a teacher was actually called out by Black students for calling the N-word, and nothing was done about this teacher. She wasn't reprimanded. She continued to be a teacher for multiple weeks. Another teacher, actually, who was a brown woman herself, who was an ally to these Black students, was paying public attention to it. She was the one that got fired for it, not the actual racist teacher that was calling them these derogatory terms. And she was the one that has been put on administrative leave. I don't think she's been placed back into her position, and I don't really know what the situation is with COVID. Yeah. despicable. How is it possible that a teacher that's calling the students derogatory terms still has their job? Like, how can we claim that we're moving towards progress, but we're not doing anything to stop it?
Yeah, thank you for sharing your experience. And yeah, definitely parents, family members, we're watching the news, we're seeing what's happening. We find out through the grapevine, whether folks are trying to keep it quiet, we pay attention to these issues and our youth know. So thanks for sharing your story. I'd love to hear from Sine. Sine was interested in speaking, and this will be the last part of round one around dismantling institutional racism. Sine, are you there? See if I can unmute you. Oops, are you there, Sine? Looks like you're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me?
A little bit. Speak a little bit louder.
Hello?
Yes, perfect. Talk to us.
Is the volume good?
You're great. Talk to us. 2
Okay.
minutes.
My name is Sanai Kinfei. I'm a Black man here in Long Beach. I grew up in Long Beach Unified School District. I identify as of Black descent. And I'm speaking in terms of the Black experience as a former student of the LBUSD. And just to be clear, it's important that we draw a clear correlation between white supremacy and the institutions that are perpetuating it within the school district, particularly the school district administration, as well as the teachers union. There's many countless experiences of racist and prejudiced teachers within Long Beach Unified School District being transferred at best or shuttled around to other schools when these kinds of experiences that are being described by some of the young people occurring. And, you know, much in the same way as the POA likes to shield a lot of the negligence and violence of police officers that they represent, I see the same energy and experience coming out of the TLBA. So I just want to start from there. With regards to my experiences in the school district, I only had one Black male teacher ever going through Long Beach Unified School District, and that was Mr. Ferguson at John Marshall Middle School. And just to give perspective, I'm 29 years old, and I had Mr. Ferguson as an algebra teacher in 7th grade, and a famous alumni of John Marshall Middle School, Calvin Brodus, who we know today as Snoop Dogg. He also had Mr. Ferguson as an algebra teacher. So it just speaks volumes in terms of the lack of accountability that the school district and the teachers union holds with regards to looking for Black workers and Black teachers to speak to the Black community. We have a lot of teachers who are coming from communities where they have no interaction with Black students, Black children, and we're thrusting them and giving them the responsibility of engaging and shepherding our children into upward educational mobility. But the reality is that they don't even know how to speak to our kids. I don't know. I have a perfect book right here. It's called, I run a bookstore. It's called Black Students, Middle Class Teachers. And it's by Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. And I would just, you know, in the future, you could have some of the teachers, maybe the teachers union, you can have some of your new teachers read books like that and read how you are engaging in white supremacy and take responsibility for where the school district is. It's not just the school district, it's also the teachers.
Thank you. Will you put that in the comments? Put the name of the book so we can add it to our list. Add your book in the list. Thank you so much. So there was an alumni speaking. We have one more person. I hear Cameron. Cameron has been raising Cameron's hand. Cameron, are you there?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, Cameron. Oh, let me see if I can unmute you again. You got muted somehow. Okay, there you go. Go for it, Cameron.
I'm Cameron. I'm her mother. This is my daughter, Shania. She attends Milliken. I do not want to speak, but she does.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Shania Bishop. I attend Milliken High School. I'm a junior. So I just would like to speak on racism in schools. So around 2018, I created my own major ed dance team, which is HBCU style. I contacted a teacher to get the dance team started up. Her name is Miss George. I don't know if she's on here or not, but shout out to her. We pretty much talked about the team and we got it moving. She was really helpful and she was really supportive of the team as well. So we continued on that first year. You know, there was a lot of policies that we did not know that were in place for this club or team. So we continued on with the year. The second year of the team that was still in action, we had to move to a second advisor. And that second year was a lot of bumps in the road. And we started to see more racism honestly come from Milliken, especially with the staff. It was not really that welcoming into our culture. And we wanted to feel represented on our campus. So this is how we, you know, felt like we could be represented. So pretty much at the end of this school year, they wanted to end the team. They did not want to end any more action. So we brought it to the principals. And they pretty much just told us, you know, even though it's not you guys' fault, it's not the kids, we have good grades, we followed all the rules. Even though it's not your fault, we still have to end the team because of adult actions. And I feel as if that is wrong. Because of adult actions, you should not put that upon the kids. So pretty much they're punishing us based off adult actions. So I brought it to the superintendent that was over Long Beach a couple of months ago. I brought it to the superintendent's assistant, Ms. Tulo. Shout out to her, she's amazing. I brought it to both principals at my school. I brought it to the past principal at my school. And pretty much my dad also wrote them email as well. One principal responded with, you guys can join any of the other teams that are predominantly white on our campus and you can just go over there. And then the other principal pretty much responded as 24K Remettes are no longer welcome on this campus. So I feel really left out in the cold. I don't feel as if I'm getting really any support. I never have really felt represented at my school, along with other, not even just African-American girls, Hispanic, Asian, you name it. We don't really feel represented. So this was the group that made us feel that way. And now they took that away from us. So yeah.
Thank you. Tell us your name again. I didn't catch it.
Shania Bishop. It's CHANIA and then Bishop.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, we're going to move to the next round. I love that so many youth have shared, and I've been reminded to not share so much. So, you know, I'm passionate about this stuff, and I'm a mom, and I'm Black, doggone it. So thank you all for everyone who has been sharing. And I see so much conversation happening. I can't read it all. We're moving to talk a little bit about the district budget. I'm going to invite from Taub, I'm going to invite Maya Rubin Smith, also I think Aaron Mendez, and also some folks from CSEA. But I want to invite these folks, these adults who are representing these larger organizations, to be really mindful of your time, keep it tight, and let's really use this opportunity to lift up the voices that are not often heard by decision makers. So here we go. Let's see, where are you? Maya Rubin, Aaron Mendez, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, get a little closer to the mic. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
A little bit.
Okay, all right. I'm using district technology. How's that?
Not great.
How about that?
Better. Go ahead. Speak in your loudest voice.
I will. I'm a teacher. I can do that. I was speaking about reopening schools and not the budget. So do you want me to wait or go now?
Yes, let's wait. We'll get right back to you. So we want to talk about district budget. Sorry about that. Anyone from CSEA or Taub that wanted to talk about the district budget? And also on deck, I want to invite folks who've been working with the, I think it's the LCAP, folks who've been learning about the budget, any family or parents, family members who've been learning about as they've been investigating the budget. Who do we have that knows a little bit about the budget and has feedback? Anyone who's been working with the Children's Defense Fund, folks have been working with Jolene. Enrique, do you have some feedback about the budget? Okay. Anyone from CSEA? Enrique, are you there? Val Farr or Chet Davidson, are you there? Would you like to talk about the budget? Chet? Chet, are you there? I think I just saw your name. Thank you everybody for your patience. Chet, I'm gonna unmute you and ask and see if you're ready. Chet? Is that you, Chet? You got muted. All right, you're unmuted, Chet. Talk to us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for Taub and all the support staff for putting this on. The timing's impeccable with all of our federal people discussing reopening the school. My concern, and obviously it's the budget like everybody else, but I did want to bring to the attention something that I had brought to State Superintendent Tony Thurman, to our board members, to employee relations, that really make sure that as we reopen, we do it as safely as possible. And according to the district at this point, which I know things can change, they are resistant against putting up plexiglass or sneeze barriers at the schools in the front offices. And as we know, this face mask is not a law, and we have parents that are potentially going to come in to conduct business, and we're not going to have that protection, that layer of protection to help ensure the spread of this COVID-19. So I just wanted to get the word out there. Like I said, I've been trying to reach out, and you know, we want to do our very best. We want the kids back. As a CSEA member, I work for maintenance. I've been with the school district for 32 years. My main focus is the safety and security for these children, so these teachers, so you teachers can provide that enrichment, and that is my main goal. And I just want to make sure that as Unity, I'm not reaching anybody that's probably listening to this, but we are an aging group, and obviously we would probably be more susceptible to the COVID pandemic as an aging group. But anyways, I wanted to thank everybody, Taub, Dr. Benitez, and just having this discussion going forward to more. So, and that's the main thing, that we're talking about stuff and figuring out, because this is the first time we've dealt with this, and we need to make sure we do it right. So thank you very much, Melissa.
Wow, you were right on time with your 2 minutes. You've had practice. Great work. Hey, you reminded me of something, and I've been texted this. Folks, let's take a second to kind of like, woosah, we have been handling a pandemic. Parents, we've been trying to homeschool or have given up on it. We have a new sense of appreciation for our educators and what they deal with every day with our students. We're thinking about our health. Some of us are aging. Thank you for mentioning that, Chet. Folks, please share in the chat and hashtag it about schools reopening or budget. Any concerns you have, especially if you're an educator or an employee, the school district, some things that you want decision makers to think about or consider. We're pulling up these poll questions and the hashtags, hashtag racism in schools, hashtag school budgets, hashtag reopening schools. Exhale for a minute. Whew, there's a lot. There's a lot that we've been carrying as a society, and then you add uprising on top of that. It's a lot of tension. There's a lot of work for us to do together, and we're going to be able to do it. Okay, so John Cain, I have you as someone who's interested in sharing and talking, and I saw some of your comments here in the chat. So John Cain, you're up next. Let's see, we want to talk about the district budget. We also have Camilla Jackson, you're up if you're able to share. I know you're, I believe, an educator. So John or Camilla, who's available to share with us
I'm
your
ready.
story?
I'm ready.
Is that you, John? Okay.
Yes, it
Talk
is.
to us.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi,
How you
John.
doing?
Good.
First of all, thank you so much for facilitating all this. It's been very informative. I've been a teacher for over 30 years, and I've been at Jordan for 22 of those years. So I've seen the inequity, I've seen the lack of equality, I've seen the lack of listening for the last 30 years as a teacher, but more so at Jordan. And I'm reading through the chat comments, and I wasn't going to say anything, and then I saw a comment from a student at Poly about asking to be included in the CCEJ camps, which are phenomenal. We've had several hundred kids go through those camps at Jordan and being told that they don't have the money. And I just think that a school district our size needs to, first of all, listen to these kids. I think that's number one, the most important thing. And number two, we should find ways when we are going through the budget line by line to make sure kids feel like they are included in things just like that. Now, I'm not involved in the school budget, so I don't know where those dollars go specifically line by line, but it wouldn't seem like that would be a huge cost when we spend, you know, millions of dollars on things like professional development for teachers, to send them off campus to get a sub all day, you know, 10, 15, 20, 30 subs at a time, sometimes at $250 a day. I don't know how we couldn't fund something like that. So I would like to see more equity with that as a teacher. I'm teaching driver ed right now online for my students at Jordan, Poly, Sato,
Wow.
Lakewood, and Wilson. And it's really kind of neat to do it online and see all the kids from different schools. But I can see how frustrated they are with the internet. I can see how frustrated they are with access to things. And as a teacher, it's really difficult to not be able to reach out and help them. And I would just like to see that equity be more on the front burner instead of the back burner. We need to celebrate our kids. We need to celebrate the things that they would like and that they think are important, and not be the ones trying to tell them what's important, and be the ears for them, and then be the voice after we heard that to communicate that back and say, this is what we need and this is what's important. Thank you for your time. You guys are great. And, you know, as a teacher, to all you kids out there that have taken the time to sit down at a computer and add to this
And
discussion.
learn how to drive. That's scary.
Yeah, well, I give those
Thank
kids a big
you.
round of applause. I am just so
Thank
proud of
you.
all of them.
Thank you for being a teacher.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing a couple names here. We've got Samantha Lori. I saw another name just pop up. So Samantha, if you're there, we'd like to bring you on.
All right, I just want to talk real quickly. I'm a parent of a student who's a freshman at UC Merced who graduated from Millikan Quest, and I have a daughter who's going to be a senior this year in the Millikan Quest program, and I work at Lakewood High School in the English and theater department. And my biggest concern is I don't think parents and people realize the inequity of the full-time equivalent teacher numbers in the district. Wilson High School has the most FTEs, and they have the least amount of African-American students. Or Poly has 10%, they have 11%. So we have more teachers for the school that has the least amount of minority students. That means that if they have 5 teachers more, that's 30 classes that school is offering that another school like Lakewood High School or Millikan is not. And I think that's a huge problem. And I think because the parents at the schools that don't have as much vocal voice, they aren't getting to be heard or even know that that's happening. And I think that's a disgrace. I think that there should be equity in the number of teachers and the opportunities for every student in our district. I will say that the budget, I think we need to be creative. I believe that things like offering optional PE we used to have, I can't remember what it's called exactly, but where kids who, like, I had an ice skater who skated 6 hours a day, she still had to take middle school PE. You could cut some of the budget by offering that optional PE opportunity for students who are amazing athletes who are athletic outside of the school. There's a lot of positions we know in the district that can be cut at the top level that are unnecessary. I feel like we spend so much money top heavy, and this money needs to be going back to the students, back to these amazing programs. I do think, to be honest, like, I think that unfortunately our school system is built for a specific kind of kid. And I have white kids, and yet I have one really quiet social anxiety kid. And being in those high academic classes and those Quest and PACE type programs, these teachers need some support in mental health, because if your child has a panic attack in class, it's ignored. Or if your child needs some support because they're stressed out, there isn't that support. So I think we need to be worrying about, with reopening the schools, about their social and emotional support, though, primarily. And we are not teachers, counselors.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
Thank you. And think about all this intersectionality. We've got the special need, we've got sexual orientation, we've got poverty. We've got a couple things. We want to hear from Enrique, we want to hear from Darlene, we want to hear from KJ, and then Juan has a question in Espanol.
Sí, quería invitar a cualquier persona que quiera compartir un comentario. Tenemos traducción. Quería ver si alguien quería compartir un comentario, una pregunta, un testimonio. También para proveerle un poquito de tiempo a nuestra comunidad hispanoparlante. Si alguien quiere, por favor, con toda confianza, en el comentario háganos saber o levanten la mano aquí y podemos identificarla para que haga su comentario en español. Gracias.
We're inviting folks if they'd like to share, if they're interested in sharing who are speaking Spanish. And then also we want to invite folks who are listening in to Kamai translation. If anybody would like to share, folks could let us know. So there's a couple names I've got right now. I've got Darlene, I've got KJ, I've got Kelly Mead, and I've got Enrique. So we'll do whoever's first, whoever's there. And
Hi, this is Darlene Dunn. I'm a area director for the Teachers Association of Long Beach. I am one of only 2 African-American teacher librarians in the entire district, and I am the only elementary teacher librarian in the Long Beach Unified School District. And most of the problem has to do with budgets. Certain positions, like teacher librarians, are funded. The district only funds a certain percentage, and the school sites must pick up the others. Most teacher librarians in our district have multiple schools. There is only 1 full-time teacher librarian at 2 elementary schools in our district. Most of our teacher librarians have multiple schools and are torn between all these different schools. The systematic racism is appalling. I am so proud of the students that have spoken and the courage that they have shown. Yes, I have experienced racism in my position, including an administrator who told me that I need to change my tone when talking to students. I find that blatantly racist, especially when I'm addressing African-American students. Thank you for this forum. I really appreciate the opportunity to share. And thank you, Dr. Juan Benitez, for all that you are doing. Thank you very much.
You have a former student saying hello to you on the chat. So cool to have you
great.
here.
Wonderful.
Next, we want to hear from Darlene. Darlene? Oh, you are Darlene. I'm sorry. KJ. KJ? Are you there, KJ? Okay,
Hi,
KJ.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Mila Jackson. I am the teacher librarian at Jefferson Leadership Academy. And like Darlene just mentioned, she and I are the only African-American Black women who serve as teacher librarians for the entire Long Beach Unified School District. I work within the secondary schools, and she works within the elementary schools. As well as being an employee for Long Beach Unified School District, I'm also a mom. I have 2 sons. My eldest son just graduated from Milliken High School, and my youngest is still there. I asked them to share tonight, but they are very reluctant to share because they've had very horrible experiences at Milliken and Stanford Middle School. They feel that if they share, they'll be retaliated against. My eldest told me that if he shares, he thinks it'll be harder for my younger son. And so I do not want them to be on camera tonight, but I do want to just say that my youngest son was experienced racism from his PE teacher. She likened him to a gorilla one day. It hurt me deeply. I went to the school. I tried to get things changed. It was pushed under the rug. I went to the superintendent. I went to the board meeting. My voice wasn't heard. And my son was hurt by that. And I thought that as an employee, maybe I could have a little bit of leverage and because I knew how things worked and I could talk to the people who I needed to speak with to make change. But those teachers were not reprimanded. And I was told that those teachers were going to get training. And if it's the same training that I've received year after year at Long Beach Unified School District, it's not enough.
Thank you for sharing that. I need to tell you, last night at the dinner table, my family talked about your son My daughter went to school with him. These are real stories, people. Thank you for sharing that. This is incredible. This is incredible how this impacts our families. You all, there's not enough time to get these stories out in 120 seconds. This is like, I'm feeling the pressure. I'm feeling frustrated. You may be feeling it as well. We have these stories. There's so many stories I'm getting. People are wanting to share. I know there's not enough time for all of this. There's so much work to do. Yeah, and people, we've been sharing these stories. We know this stuff is real. We're gonna have to do something after sharing our stories, right? And put some pressure. So, okay, who have we not heard from? Who's next? Enrique, I know you wanted to share. Dawn, you're up on deck. There's a student whose name starts with the letter Q. I don't want to mispronounce. Who wanted to share as well? Betty Ruiz, Spanish. Who have we got?
Hello.
Hi, talk to us.
Hi. My name is Colea Peters. I'm currently a student at Poly. I just wanted to say that, like, you know, Poly is a very like diverse school, but somehow even still there's, you know, you still experience like racism there, and you know, a lot is going on with you know, like Ms. Huff that end up, you know, getting in trouble for calling a student the N-word, and is now apparently allowed to come back to Poly for calling a student the N-word. But a student who tried to, a teacher who tried to speak to their students about it and tell them, you know, you can come to me if you want to speak to anyone about it, ended up getting fired and can't come back. So I think like that's where the problem starts, and that's where it lays. And, you know, I feel like racism is being normalized in schools because there's so many kids who are not anywhere of Black descent who normally use the N-word in their normal vocabulary, or, you know, there's a problem with people wearing headscarves or do-rags at school. It's just anything that has to do with Black culture seems to be a problem. So I just feel like there's a lot of things that are going on in schools that are being swept under the rug. And the reason it's only coming out now is because people are starting to speak up again, but people are acting like this hasn't been happening for years, and it has. It's just that people see it as like, oh, well, it's trending now, so now we're gonna talk about it, when it's been talked about for years and years and years. It's just that nobody really does anything about it. It's, you know, kind of scary being a Black female of who's also in the LGBTQ plus community, going to school in, you know, Long Beach, and, you know, being the minority. It's kind of scary because there's so many people who are just going to judge you, and, you know, we're so in such a diverse place, yet you're still experiencing all of that. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I see Enrique wants to share, and hopefully we can unmute him. Thank you for talking. This is so awesome to hear these youth voices. Seems like we need a space just for youth. So for some of our youth service organizations out there who might want to collaborate, seems like this could be a good next step for us. Enrique is available to share. We're also going to transition right now to the next round, which is talking about the reopening up of schools. So you can hashtag that. We have Dawn from Black Lives Matter has something to share. Enrique, if we can get you off of mute. Is that you, Enrique? All right. See if we can hear you. We can't hear you. Let's see here. We also have Jolene Tatum. Enrique, give us a second. Let's see if we can get you off. You're still muted. So Enrique, we're gonna move to Jolene because I can't quite figure out what's happening there. So Jolene, we can get you on. I know you've been doing a lot of work around the budget, and as a parent and advocate have been thinking about reopening of schools. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Talk to us.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jolene Tatum. I'm an LBUSD parent, an LBUSD graduate, and an advocate for Black parents and Black children in LBUSD. First of all, I want to say I think this is absolutely amazing to see the different faces and organizations and institutional leaders that are on this call right now. And although I'm not sure where this is all going, I think this is wonderful, and I hope that we can continue to do this and can continue to collaborate. As I've worked in the community, one thing that I've found, there's always been this us against them mentality, whether it's been the community against the district or it's been the parents against the teachers. I'm an advocate for teachers as much as I'm an advocate for parents, and I'm always encouraging parents to have conversations with teachers, because teachers go home to their families and they have to cook and clean and take care of their children just like the rest of us. So I'm hoping that as we continue to have conversations, that we're in conversation together. Regarding budget, I've been part of the LCAP community committee, a committee that was formed out of a settlement agreement between community organizations and the district to provide a space in place for parents to be active in the budget process. I just want to ask people to keep your eyes open for when those opportunities come up, because when we're at the table and we're having those conversations, we need educators in that conversation with us, especially educators that live in the district and also have children in the district, because we need to hear the stories that are taking place inside the classroom. What is lacking? What does it need? We don't know what the budget, this budget process is really going to look like as we head into this new school year. But one thing I'm going to ask, and I know that there's district people looking and watching this right now, please keep to your word. Please make sure that the community is part of that process. And now that you see a bigger picture of what the community looks like and the community organizations and the teachers and the different things, please make sure that we're all part of that process. A lot of us were a little bit discouraged today when we got that video and we heard about these meetings that have taken place. And the question that came up is, who was in those meetings? Who made those decisions and chose these options for us? Many of us saw that survey. We had some issues with with that survey. So again, I think this is a wonderful opportunity. Let's see, I got some notes real here. Just budget. Just make sure we're part of this budget as we move in to this next school year. Do not exclude us. Do not leave us out, because we're gonna come hang out in front of your door if you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jolene. I hear that Kelly's been waiting for a while. Betty Ruiz, who's been with the translation group, would like to share in Spanish. Enrique, we'll try you again. Dawn, if we can get you on. Paige, I see you. Marianne, a teacher, if you're available. And if there's any dads out there, it would be great to hear from some dads. So who have we got? Kelly, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. I just want to share a scenario that happened to me last school year in attempting to go through the proper channels while sitting in a meeting, well established in my seat with good mornings and all. I was told that I needed to go sit in the back of the room. Yeah, in the back corner. I had a Rosa Parks moment because the group of colleagues across from me who clearly heard him neglected to rebuke what this man just asked me to do. And just trying to tell my truth about a situation, and the principal didn't even respond. And as a side note, you know, when you're the only Black person in the room, and you know that no one will speak up for you, you get that feeling. Those of you who are people of color who have had that feeling before, well, no one will speak for you. You have that, you know, I can't breathe moment. And I think that it is so important and valuable to go to the educator at this time, because this is before school is starting. You have students who are going to be coming into the classroom angry and upset and frustrated. And as an educator, I am an educator at Jordan High School. I am a product of educators. My mom was she started at Rogers as the second Black teacher in 1971 to get there after Claudia Armstrong. And you know, that was a struggle because it was Rogers Middle School at the time. And so, you know, I just think that if this is our perception of how we can treat adults on campus who are colleagues of each other, then I am afraid for our students of color as we return to the traditional school year. If you think abstaining from our biases and claiming social progressiveness is the end, because that's the problem, is we claim social progressiveness. We claim that we are labeling ourselves as unbiased. And I don't have a problem with this person. I think everybody's great. But think again, because that's the problem. That's where the problem starts, is that you assume that that you don't have biases, and everybody has, we all have that bias, that implicit bias that happens. And now is the time for our corrective action before we get back into school. Teachers need corrective action, and the funding that has gone toward our summer reading. They actually did start a summer reading book club. We are reading about 4 or 5 different types of books, white fragility being one of them, biases, and you guys, there's a whole list or whatever.
Can you share some of what we're missing that you wanted to say? Share some of that in the chat. We're going to move on.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I think you got some good shout outs about being the greatest of all time in the chat, so check it out. Please share with us the things you're doing. What's working? Folks, tell us what is working. What have you seen work? What are you doing? We have a dad on deck, Charles Barnes. Enrique, it looks like you should be good now to speak. Let's see if we can hear from Betty Ruiz first. Is Betty Ruiz there? And do we need translation? I don't see her name. So if we can't get her yet, then we've got Lilia Ocampo.
I think
Enrique.
I think Enrique
Yes?
is ready.
Great, let's go. You there? Enrique? Let's see, Enrique, I'm gonna try to unmute you again. Enrique? Enrique, you're unmuted, are you there? Uh-oh. Enrique? Okay, Enrique, we'll come back to you. Chuck Barnes, are you there? Betty Ruiz?
Hello, are you there?
Yes, all right, Chuck,
Okay,
talk to us.
so I'm one of the dads, as you may know, Melissa. But I have a daughter that's in high school and a daughter that's in middle school, going to middle school. And I just want to echo what's been said already, that they need places, safe places to speak who they are and to be heard. I'm a product of the district also. I went to high school at Long Beach Poly and Wilson. And while I was at Wilson, I attended the Building Bridges Youth Human Relations Camp. And it was a life-changing experience for me because it was one of the places where I finally got a chance to learn about myself as a Black man, as a Black kid at the time, but also to learn about others. And in learning about others, I learned more about myself. Having a safe place like that is so important because a lot of kids, when they don't feel respected, they don't want to learn from you. Like if you don't respect them, they don't want to learn from you. So what I would like to encourage is for folks to get involved with that program as volunteers, parents, teachers, just community members even. Get involved. If you're in high school, you can come up there and be a camper. But it's so transformational. And just be there to listen and not necessarily come up there to lecture or impart how much you know, but just learn. I continually learn. I've been learning since the first time I went in high school. I'm still learning. I'm one of the cadre of co-directors, and I learn every single time I go. So I welcome folks to just step up.
Thank you, Chuck. And could you share any of those resources in the chat? I moved to California and worked with Chuck on anti-racist retreat programs for high school students in Long Beach, and the school district used to set aside a big old chunk of money for that. So there was funding back in the day. So add any resources there, Chuck, in the chat so folks know where to go. All right, we've got some more people here. Enrique, can we hear from you, Enrique? Betty Ruiz, Dawn, Marianne, Paige, any other dads? I want to thank folks for really centering Black voices here. This is pretty phenomenal. This doesn't happen very much in our city or in many cities. So thank you all for stepping up or stepping back and creating this space. I also see Ryan Ballard would like to speak. So if I can get some support from the team to unmute some of these folks.
Dawn's unmuted. I think it's working. We're working on Betty. I'm sorry, Betty. I think you can hear us. We're trying to get it figured out, but Dawn, go ahead.
Awesome. There's so many cool people back here helping. Who's there? Who is that? I hear a voice.
Dawn.
Hey, Dawn. Talk to us, Dawn.
Hey, okay. So this is exciting. Melissa, you're doing a great job. I'm coming on as a mom of two Black boys. One who graduated Millikan as a baseball player. So I think when you're in a sport in high school, it kind of helps you fit in a different way. My youngest son is at Bancroft. But first, I just want to open with just reiterating these demands around the budget. Hire more Black teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals. So CSEA, let's get those staff lined up to come into the schools, and other support staff. Hire culturally competent academic and socio-emotional counselors, nurses, non-carceral social workers, and behavioral specialists. This is the work that our communities do, that police have been trying to insert themselves into these professions for years, and workers in these professions and the unions who represent them have to take that work back and divest from police. This is how we can get ahead of challenges and issues that our children are dealing with in the school, not after they have an issue where teachers don't know how to deal with it and then you call the police. No, have enough counselors, have enough teachers and support staff to get to know our students, and then you already know what they're dealing with and you can better support them. Mandate Black and ethnic studies, incorporate the Black Lives Matter in schools curriculum. We did a pilot project. In fact, that's how Melissa and I ended up running into each other the top of this year, where we piloted Black Lives Matter in schools in 2 middle schools and in a high school. And I think Marianne might be on here and she could talk a little bit about that if she gets to come on. It was extremely successful. It's a deep curriculum. I dropped the link in there, I'll drop it again. It's something that can get incorporated easily. I mentioned this and shared it with Jill, the new superintendent, at one of the LCAP meetings on February 1st. She thought it looked great, thought it looked like something that the school district can adopt. I am encouraging her to take another look at that. Happy to talk with her about that. And that is something that should be adopted right away. So let me add a couple things. My kids, I mentioned my oldest son graduated at Millikan. Oh my God. I know the student who, the teacher, drama or theater, I forget which department, who made this kid wear blackface. Let me tell you something. Since someone else already brought it up, I'm gonna share this. His family is furious because some evil kid who apparently is learning white supremacist practices at home found this old picture of the performance and posted that picture of him in blackface. He is being harassed right now. I'm not even gonna say the school because the mom was hesitant about how to deal with this, but he is being harassed right now. He was a child in high school when a teacher made him wear that blackface. She reached out to the current principal, and he just said the teacher retired and he owes her some notice of acknowledgement of that situation. My youngest son was discriminated against right after Fred Taft was killed at Pan Am Park, and went through the whole process with the school. They said that the sub won't be back at our school, but didn't say if they're keeping her out of other schools. So there's a sub who discriminated against my son, my 6'2", 12-year-old son, who she said that she was afraid of him. She said that she just said some derogatory things to him. I've shared some of these things before. So I hope that Jill, as a new superintendent, will incorporate Black Lives Matter in schools, divest from police, and reinvest in those demands I mentioned at the beginning. Thank you, Melissa. You're doing an amazing job.
All right, post those links so people can understand what does divest, invest mean. If you can post some of those links, that would be great. Okay, Enrique, I hear that we can get you on. And folks, if we call your name, you don't have to unmute, we'll unmute you. Translators, thank you for bearing with us. I know I have talked way too fast.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Enrique,
Yes.
talk to us.
Technical difficulties. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am a CSEA member. I am a classified employee for the district. And, I just want to talk a little bit about the budget. So let me get started. So, let's say if a restaurant fails to produce the meal that we requested, we will demand a new entree or a new refund, right? So why aren't we demanding a refund from the district? It's vital to remember that our public schools are funded by local property taxes and state taxes, along with a small share from the federal government. Keep in mind, however, that all of these revenue sources are from taxpayers. As public employees, they must be held accountable. How can you give out raises to your top brass when you're constantly laying off and reducing the hours of your essential employees who clean your schools, run your offices, feed the students, maintain the schools for the safety of our students, parents, and teachers? if our parents and community members were aware that this is how their money is being used to fund these high raises and salaries for the top brass during an economic recession and you know, high budget cuts, they would ask for a refund. Especially, you know, when their child's education depends on it. Do we really think that a $58,000 salary increase for our incoming superintendent will help our struggling students in the most impoverished parts of our town to succeed? The school district has to be held accountable for his actions. School districts that have the support of their staff and community pass needed tax elections. School leaders who work to keep employees informed and involved generally have happier employees who enjoy their jobs and work hard to do their part in educating students, which translates into a better education for all of our students. CSEA Long Beach Chapter 2, the Union of the District's Classified Employees, stand with our students, our parents, our community members, and our teachers to support the best education possible. And we stand with them to improve the lives of our students. So let's start by asking for a refund. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I also see Amber there talking and some educators talking about the need for teachers to have support around technology. Technology, technology, technology. Okay, we are getting really close to our time here. Is Lilia there? Betty Ruiz? Any other dads? As we start to close this segment. Miss Juanita, are you there, Miss Juanita? Lilia, Betty, Dana, Miss Juanita. If my team can unmute one of those folks, that would be incredible.
Robbie's helping us not to unmute, Melissa.
Great. Folks who are watching on Facebook, thank you for being there. Thank you for sharing your feedback, your comments, your resources.
Hi, Anita Wilson. I'm a community leader. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being here. Talk to us.
Oh, thank you. No, I wanted to share about. I'm a community leader. I'm not an educator and all that other stuff what everybody's doing. But I've been volunteering in the community for over 40 years. I have a son that's 55 years old, so I've been following from school to school, and I'm kind of geared over here at Roosevelt Elementary School, and I'm also with Long Beach Forward Best Start Central Long Beach. My little pet peeve is that mostly our African American people do not come out and volunteer at the PTA meetings. My son, me and Jeremiah is usually the only ones there. But people don't come out to the community. All the people, they don't come out to the PTA meetings. It's a community involvement. And that's all I have to share about community. But also I'm doing a Mama J jacket drive over at Roosevelt, and I like to share that with the community. People need to get involved when people are trying to do good things for the communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Ms. Juanita, if you have any ideas of what can make those spaces more comfortable for Black folks to show up, what can happen to accommodate people, please put that down. Someone mentioned the Concerned and Interested African American Parent Group. I've been to some of those meetings during the pandemic. They're scheduled during the day, difficult for working families. So we want institutional leaders and figureheads and folks who are working in these places to think outside of the box about folks and families who are struggling, how to make spaces more inclusive, how to reach out, not just with technology, but let's go old school. Let's do the old school community organizing, flyering, etc. Okay, so here are the folks we have next. We've got Lilia, Betty, Dana, Ryan. Got to wrap it up and keep it tight. Who's there? My team can unmute someone, please.
Lilia.
Yes, sí.
Okay.
Are you there? Okay.
Sí. Va a hablar en español. Tiene traducción, ¿verdad? You have translation.
I think we will have translation. Go for it.
Okay, yeah. La primera cosa, yo siempre lo he dicho, el problema empieza, sigue y continúa en las escuelas, en los school sites, porque ahí es donde tenemos los staff, tenemos los directores, tenemos los maestros. Creo que se tiene que abrir una conversación donde estemos todos ellos, porque nosotros sí tenemos maestros en nuestras juntas de ILAC, en nuestras juntas de School Site Council, pero ellos tienen juntas también y los padres no estamos invitados ahí. Entonces, ellos escuchan de nosotros, pero nosotros no escuchamos de ellos. Entonces, la colaboración tiene que ser completa así es como debe de ser, tiene que ser una colaboración de padres, maestros y staff, y que realmente escuchen, ¿verdad? Y que también se le den los recursos a los sitios, porque ese es el problema, que no hay suficientes recursos. Ellos no pueden brindar todos los servicios que los estudiantes necesitan. Ahora lo que me preocupa a mí es que el regreso a la escuela, ¿cómo va a ser? Con este budget que tiene un déficit, ¿verdad? Yo diría que es un déficit muy grande. Ya anteriormente, antes de ese déficit, ya teníamos falta de suficientes programas, suficientes maestros que ayuden a nuestros hijos en donde los que tienen sus problemas, porque hay muchos estudiantes que son un ejemplo y que claro que todos los decimos, ok, son parte del 3% que se logró de cerrar en la brecha, ¿verdad? Pero ese 2%, ¿qué se está haciendo por ese 2% que no alcanzó a llegar a ser parte de la meta, ¿verdad? Eso es lo que me preocupa a mí, ese 2% que ya llevo años yo haciendo hincapié, el doctor Juan Benítez lo sabe, ese 2% que necesita atención, que se necesita enfoque en ese 2% para que pase finalmente a formar el 5% y poder cerrar la brecha. Mientras no se atienda ese 2%, no vamos a cerrar la brecha. Y en ese 2% están nuestros hijos que son black and brown. Son los que están ahí, ¿verdad? Esa es mi atención en cuanto al budget. Y también en el racismo, pues es lo mismo, porque va implícito, ¿verdad? Va implícito, eso ha estado ahí ya por generaciones.
Gracias. Muchas gracias. Edna, are you able to translate for us? And Edna, are you available to translate? Or if folks want to share some English translation in the chat, that would be great. Obviously, this space is not perfect for us to be inclusive, but we're trying our best.
Do you want me to paraphrase, Melissa?
Yes, please. Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
So the first problems always begin at the schools, because that's where most of the staff is, and that's where parents interact with staff. And so in particular, a recommendation would be when staff have their staff meetings, why not invite parents and actually have a true collaborative meeting with parents? Usually staff is only there to hear parents, but parents aren't able to participate in some of the meetings on campus. True collaboration requires listening. The other concern that she shared is with the reopening of schools, particularly with a limited or deficit budget. How can the district make any equitable decisions given that there's a limit to the budget and the deficit in the district? She also noted that some students do succeed in the district. And so when we talk about diminishing the opportunity gaps, the academic achievement gaps, that if we're only diminishing that by 2% a year, what does that mean for the rest of the percentage of students that are not benefiting from the diminishing opportunity gap? So how are we measuring success if our goal is to reduce achievement gap 5% a year and we're only reducing by 2 or 3? What about the rest of the percentage of students? And that's also tied into the racism and implicit bias in the schools.
Thank you. All right. We've got some feedback in chat as well. Wow, we've squeezed a lot into a short period of time. This is just the right step in the right direction. Let's keep doing this, folks. We have a couple more people who I know want to share, and we also want to start wrapping it up. I think we may have another parent who's worked with Long Beach Forward, perhaps. We've got Kim Tabari with Black Lives Matter, Angelica Salazar with Children's Defense Fund, LB City College Board of Trustees Vice President Uduak Ntuk, and then we'll close with Juan with a couple more comments from you. Folks in your chat, please share what would you like to see in the future 2 sessions we'd like to have? What is your preferred platform for future sessions? Does Zoom work for you? Folks who are on Facebook, did that work for you? Any feedback, please share that with us. We're gonna start wrapping it up. So Sheila, if there's another parent, Angelica Salazar, Uduak, Dana, Ryan, there's another dad out there, Ryan. So I'm gonna rely on the team to see if we can get another voice or 2. We're so close to 8 o'clock. What have we got?
We're gonna go to Kim for this part.
Okay, let's go to Kim. I'll see if I can share my screen. Go for it, Kim. Let's see if Kim is unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes. All right. Hi, Kim.
All right. Hi. Great job, Melissa. And just thank you, everybody that's listening, that's writing in the chat. Someone just put in there that they felt sad. And yeah, I just want to honor that. Like, this is really sad, right? I just have to take a couple of breaths ever so often, because the work to dismantle white supremacy and interrupting racism is heavy on our hearts. So I just really want to acknowledge the parents or the teachers or the students that are listening and here. Just, we're all in this together, right? So at the end of the day, however many conversations we're having, as a parent to a Black son myself in the district, I really demand immediate action from the board and the incoming superintendent in particular to set the standard for the district using an equity lens. You know, we as parents want more for all of our children, especially our Black children. So here are the three things that I want to leave you with. Going back to academics, I don't know if you want to share that screen for me, Melissa or Juan.
Yeah, keep talking.
You know, I just want to share some data from the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress. And the majority, not all, right? The majority of our Black kids are struggling academically. You know, I mean, I know that folks think we're doing so well, and they've been in office for 16 years and they've done this great thing. But look at these numbers, right? I mean, I don't know if you can see them clearly, and I'll just read that graph for you. But if you look, the first one, is the first one math? Or, yeah, I can't actually see, it's kind of tiny on the screen. But if you look at the math screen, right? The ones that you see in red is the percentage of failing. So for third grade, 70% of our kids are Black kids, because this data is disaggregated by Black. So I'm going to show you two screens. And I really wanted to show you these numbers because we hear this every day and we think, oh, you know, we're just exaggerating, right? Here's the data, folks. The data don't lie. And guess what? The district has had this data for years, which is why people are pissed off, right? Because this is not new. Okay, 70% are failing in the third grade, 75% are failing in the fourth grade, 81% are failing in the fifth grade, and we can go on and on and on. Ultimately, that black box, that black line, says 79% failing at math, 21% passing. If you can flip to the other slide for the white group, I don't know, is that next to it?
Next to it.
Okay, if you can see the white group next to it, right? 64% in the third grade are passing. It's as if the numbers are completely flipped. 60% are passing in the fourth grade, 53% in the fifth grade, and on and on and on. So it just, if you look at the color, the red color means that they're not passing, right? They're not meeting the standard. So if you look at those side by side, the left graph is the Black kids, the right graph are white kids, okay? Tell me how much progress we have made, Felton, in 16 years. These are the numbers we're working with today, right? And I'm not saying all, again, you see 31% are doing well, but do we want to settle for 31% doing well? I don't think so. You can stop sharing, thank you. And I am willing to share the link to, I actually will drop it in the chat when I'm done. So really, really appalled at these horrific numbers. And you know, to me personally, as a Black woman, it's insulting that this is happening under the watch of the current president that also happens to be a Black man for how many years, right? So that's my own personal thing. So our demand as Black parents is full inclusion and equity in strengthening the academic rigor for Black students. We also demand that you hire more Black teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals, and support staff. And I'm not sure if the community knows this, I put that in the chat earlier, but in the district, we have about 3,200 teachers, give or take. 217 of them are Black. So to our incoming superintendent, you have much and an alarmingly higher rate than and Pacific Islanders are 4 times as likely as their white peers. So they get suspended as well, but not at much of a high rate. Sorry, are you not hearing me?
We may have lost some of it, so make sure to type your final comments back in the chat.
Okay, and my last point, I said 3 points. So the first one was academic, the second one was on suspension, and the third one is just that racism truly is a public health crisis, right? The stress of racism and discrimination impacts our children, our Black children in particular, from over-policing by harsh and unfair policies to difficulties our Black kids face in the classroom from non-Black teachers or even from their peers, right? So almost every Black family you've heard today has had a story, whether it's a teacher or, you know, from an administrator or another student discriminating against them in some way, shape, or form. So again, this demand to hire culturally competent academic and socio-emotional counselors, nurses, and non-carceral social workers and behavioral specialists is our call to action, okay? So the common thread, again, of the things that I've mentioned paints a clear picture of how racism is baked into our institutions, and in this case, we're talking about LB school system. Racism prevents us from expecting rigorous academic work from students of color. Racism and discrimination lends to the high level of suspension of students. So I just want to close by underscoring that it continues to be pervasive in how we select even school of choice, right? Black kids end up in inferior schools with low test scores. White kids end up in affluent schools with higher test scores like Stanford and Rogers. And this is particularly concerning for me because as a Black, years ago, a Black mom in Ohio spent 9 days in jail, y'all, 9 days, because she registered her children using her dad's address to get into a better school. But I've got lots of white neighbors around me that proudly tell me how they use their friends' addresses and zip codes to get their kids into schools like Stanford and Rogers. Meanwhile, Black parents are jailed for that, right? And we are also don't have that social capital to use other people's addresses or use other people's zip codes to get our kids into the school. So I really, really, really urge you all to just take this seriously. There's so much data, the data done by Dr. Holly, the LCAP report, the Long Beach Equity Profile, the recent parent survey. We are dated out, people. We have data. Do the action. The data has recommendations, follow the recommendations. That is all. Thank you so much for leaning into this conversation. Thank you for listening. And I look forward to the action immediately. Thank you, Melissa.
Kim, it's time for you to drop that mic. All right. Wow. Angelica Salazar is here from the Children's Defense Fund. She's been doing a lot of work educating parents on the ground to understand what is this all about. Talk to us, Angelica. Angie.
Hi, Melissa. Hi.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great. So just thank you. I'm so grateful for the space. Thanks to Melissa and to all the brave students, parents, community leaders, educators, and other stakeholders who spoke tonight. My name is Angelica Salazar, and I'm the Director of Education Equity at the Children's Defense Fund, California. I am really lucky that I've been able to work in Long Beach over the last 7 years, really focused on school climate issues, budget inequity issues, and also working with the district to try to transform practices for stakeholder engagement. And I wanted to share reflection. I came into this conversation thinking more about removing law enforcement from schools. And after listening to those who spoke during this forum, one big reflection that I have is that criminalization of students at school is like the tip of the institutional racism iceberg. The stories we heard tonight, they're difficult to talk about. And what I heard were stories about microaggressions, isolation, discrimination, lack of support, lack of representation, lack of opportunity, not being able to be a full self at school, dismissal of culture, dismissal of ideas, experiences, underfunding, a lack of institutional transparency, and a lack of accountability. So as we seek to do something different, it's going to be really critical that we invest in Black-centered approaches. When we do this for Black students, then the conditions for all students are going to improve. How do we do this? How are we going to respond as individuals and as a community to push the school district to divest from punitive approaches and invest more in Black students? Will we unite to do something at a deep level to really address the institutionalized racism at the root, meaning that we go beyond something quick and superficial? Great solutions have been shared tonight, before tonight, they'll be shared after tonight. CDF has advocated heavily for a meaningful process for stakeholders to partner with the district to develop solutions. That is hard work. I don't want to underestimate how hard that is. And we can't miss this moment. Students only get one shot at their education. I agree with Kim. There is no more time. We can't keep waiting on adults to figure it out. Oftentimes we know what works, but our leaders are hesitant or afraid to make that investment, to spend that money, to make those bold moves, to shift the culture, the policies, and the practices of our schools and our district. So it's on us as community to push. I just want to quote from one of my favorite authors, Arundhati Roy, who challenges us to make this pandemic a portal. We don't have to go back to the way things were when we reopen schools. They can be completely transformed if we all work together to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We've got Uduak from Long Beach City College. We've got Juan. There's so much to process right now with all this. I'm feeling heavy in my heart right now and in my mind. Folks, we have to work together as parents, as family members, as people who care about our children. We can do this. We can do it together. Is that you, Uduak?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Talk to us about the City College.
All right. Hey, I wanted to just reflect on tonight and share what we're doing. This has been an incredibly important conversation. We've heard the voices of Long Beach tonight, of all backgrounds, ages, ethnicities. We've heard from students, parents, educators, workers, community leaders. Overwhelmingly, that have we made progress? Yes, but we have not done enough. Everything we've done is not enough to really fix the system the way it needs to be fixed. My name's Uduak Jointuk. I have been a parent in Long Beach Unified for nearly 2 decades. I'm a Black dad volunteer. I have Black children. I'm a product of Long Beach. I'm an educator, teach part-time in Long Beach State, and serve as the vice president at Long Beach City College. I want to just say one thing, positively and affirmatively, that Black Lives Matter. That's something that leaders should not be scared to say. That's something that is brings all of us up. And so our diversity is our strength, but we need to make systemic changes. We have to create a truly inclusive community. At Long Beach City College, we recognize that. We are listening. We do not want to be tone deaf. We have agendized and adopted the Long Beach Framework for Reconciliation. This is a framework that was developed by Black people in Long Beach, by Black leaders in Long Beach, based in South Africa, an African tradition that's a conflict resolution model. In apartheid South Africa, when Nelson Mandela was in a prison cell and came to the presidency, he established a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to unify and have a functional democracy after injustice, right? This has been used in Bosnia and Herzegovina for ethnic genocide there. It's been used in Australia with the Aborigine peoples and First Peoples there. This is not new, right? So at Long Beach City College, we agendized it, we adopted it, and we are implementing it now. We also agendized the Long Beach Police Department contracts that we have. We have $3 million contracts with Long Beach Police for campus security. I, as a board member, did not know it was that big. We had never sunshined it and had transparency about what is in the contracts. I thought it was about 800,000. I didn't know it was 3.4 million. And so we're going through a process now of reimagining public safety at our local community college, because we're part of the community. We don't have any fences. Everybody can come and go. We want to make sure that people are safe. We want to have, educators be able to teach. That's not what this is about, but it's same time, students shouldn't be harassed. People shouldn't be followed. Do we need lethal force for books and scooters, or can we find another solution? Can we pay for more mental health counselors? Maybe, but we're looking at that collaboratively and together with our stakeholders on campus, right? But have we made progress? Definitely, but we need to do more. So I just want to close and say that this has been a really great session, that the community is here because I think the sentiment, and I feel the same way, have not been heard, nor do I know what's going on at the schools. And so, if I'm me as a regular informed person don't know, how does somebody who's not informed not know? So, and I just want to say we're dealing with the dual pandemic of COVID-19 And for many of our communities, we've been COVID-19 for decades. We had poor health care. We, had food deserts. And, so I just want to just close out and say it's been really informative. Thank you, everybody. And that we're paying attention at Long Beach City College. And I look forward to working with everybody on a common solution going forward.
Thank you. Okay, Juan Benitez, carry us home here. This was a vision you had to bring these folks and voices together. I want to thank folks for uplifting and centering our Black community. I want to thank our translators who were here to help make this conversation accessible. I want to thank folks for their patience. I want to thank our youth for speaking. Seems like we need some sessions with dads. It seems like we need more sessions with youth. It seems like we need to look at anti-Blackness. There is so much to talk about: the budget, opening schools, the COVID impacts on Black people, etc. So there's a lot ahead. What do you see, Doc? What do you see, Juan? What do you want us to know?
So we're just getting started. Thank you, Melissa. I want everybody to thank our awesome facilitator for tonight too, Melissa Morgan, for the wonderful work she did all night. It's not an easy job. So thank you, Melissa. Thank you to all of our collaborators. Thank you in particular to everyone that participated today, whether it was here on Zoom or on Facebook or on our Twitter feed. I deeply appreciate you, and I strongly believe that Black Lives Matter. And so with that said, I am a parent. I am an educator here in Long Beach, and I am your vice president for Long Beach Unified School District. And so I want to share with you some potential next steps. These are not the only ones. This is just to continue the momentum that we have here and to continue demanding action from myself and our educational leaders in our city. So I'm going to share my screen here to get us going. There are opportunities for us to stay engaged. We will do a summary compilation and report of our Zoom here tonight, our community forum. And
Juan, I shared all this information in the chat as well if folks need to go.
Okay.
Because we are meeting our time, but it is in the chat.
Here's a way to contact your school board members. There's all of our contact information. You can find out more about our Board of Education. That's the number to our Board of Education if you want to contact us that way. Public comments. We have an upcoming meeting, July 20th. This is how you submit public comments. Melissa, thank you for sharing it. And that's a contact number in case you have any accessibility issues. There are our upcoming Board of Education meetings. On July 20th from 8:30 to 11:30, we will have more details on the reopening up of schools and our budget. And then we have our 3 p.m. closed session meeting and our 5 p.m. open session meeting. It's open to the public. Anyone can submit comments. We have a potential meeting August 5th under consideration. And then we have a board workshop on the 18th and a board meeting on the 19th. You can find our meeting minutes and agendas on that link below. And there are other ways to stay engaged. Again, this has been shared out in our chat and in our comments. We have a community advisory committee meeting. We have, as was alluded to, our coalition of involved African-American parents, educational opportunities for Native Americans, Pacific Islanders education voyage. All of that information is available on the school's website, along with additional updates. As many of you know, a video was released today about the reopening up of schools. And so one way to stay plugged in with that is to check out our website daily. There will be weekly updates, and to stay activated and involved. I'm hoping that all of us can take what we heard here today, additional testimonies, additional perspectives, and communicate them to us, force us to listen, and force us to have our listening turn into action, right? And so I'm so appreciative of this collective space, and I am listening, and I am with you in moving our community interests and agendas forward. So thank you to everyone that participated today. We have a few weeks left in our summer before schools reopen September 1st. So we have a lot of work before us, but I am hopeful that collectively we can hold our educational systems accountable to our communities in general, but particularly our Black communities and our communities of color in specific ways. So thank you.
All right, folks. Wow, that was a lot. This was incredible. Thank you all for being part of this. Please share this on social media. Please continue writing, sharing your feedback. Hey, check out medium.com. I mean, we could get a lot more stories and testimonials out there. I just want to end with a quote by Patrice Collers. She was the co-founder of Black Lives Matter. She was a young person I worked with when I moved out here to Los Angeles, who I saw her develop and what she envisioned around justice in our community. And in her book, When They Call You a Terrorist, a Black Lives Matter memoir, she says this one thing: could it be that we matter? I'd like to leave you with that. Let's show our young people that they matter. Let's show each other that we matter. Let's work together and make this the Long Beach we want it to be and know it can be. Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned. We'll be emailing you. We'll be posting, and we're going to be looking for your creative responses and approaches to how we build a better community. Have a great evening. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.